Imagine two people standing side by side.
All right.
One is 30 years old. They wake up in the morning, swing their legs out of bed, and everything just aches.
Right. We all know that feeling.
Exactly. Their joints are stiff, they feel chronically lethargic, and they are just entirely out of shape. But then look at the second person.
In contrast, yeah.
Right. They are 60 years old.
Yeah.
But they move with this incredible, they're supple, strong, totally fluid.
It's wild to picture.
It is. And according to the legendary physical trainer, Joseph Pilates, if you're looking at those two people, the 60-year-old is actually the young one.
Which completely flips how we think about aging.
Right. The difference between them isn't 3 decades of time. It's a mountain of invisible daily choices.
It really is such a profound shift in perspective. I mean, we're conditioned to think of aging as this passive, inevitable decline that just sort of, happens to us.
Like it's just gravity taking over.
Exactly. But Pilates was arguing that the physical condition of your body is really a report card. It's a living, breathing manifestation of how a person has been operating.
Yeah, it keeps a record.
It does. Every one of those invisible choices is quietly building you up or quietly dismantling you at a cellular level day by day.
And that image is the perfect entry point for us today. So, welcome to today's deep dive. We've got a massive, incredibly eclectic stack of research in front of us.
It's quite the mix.
It really is. I mean, we're going to be pulling from ancient Buddhist texts, modern surfing philosophy, Roman emperors, and even a heartbreaking 1968 golf tournament.
That golf story is just devastating, by the way.
Oh, we'll definitely get to that. But our mission today is to sift through all these voices to figure out one fundamental question. How do our daily habits actually construct the person we are becoming?
And to anchor all these disparate voices, we really have to establish the core philosophy that runs through this entire collection.
Right, the baseline.
Yeah, there's a traditional aphorism in the text that says, life is BCD, right, which stands for birth, choices, death.
Mm-hmm.
And the underlying premise is somewhat stark, honestly.
How so?
Well, we have absolutely zero control over the B and the D. I mean, we don't dictate the circumstances of our beginning, and we rarely control the exact nature of our end.
Right, those are just givens.
Exactly. The only territory where human beings have actual agency is that C in the middle, the choices.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because if the entirety of our agency comes down to our choices, we really need to talk about how we actually start making them.
For sure.
And the sources point out that the beginning of any meaningful choice is usually incredibly messy, like Seth Godin breaks this down in his book.
Oh, right. This is strategy.
Yeah, specifically a concept he calls Strategy 67. He lists these world-changing innovations that had remarkably broken beginnings.
Like the Wright brothers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The Wright brothers' first plane only managed to fly a few hundred yards. And early software programs like VisiCalc were totally underpowered and barely functional.
Right.
And the very first bridges humanity ever engineered, they were just shaky vines strung over terrifying drops.
He uses those historical examples to issue a challenge to our modern perfectionism, really.
Yeah, because we don't like shaky vines.
We don't. The prevailing myth is that great things arrive fully formed. But the reality is that every single great thing started out broken.
I hear that, but I kind of want to push back on this idea of celebrating the broken beginning.
Okay, go for it.
It's very easy to look at a vine bridge historically and say, wow, what a great first step for civil engineering.
Sure.
But if I'm standing on the edge of an actual cliff, a broken vine bridge means I fall and die.
That's a fair point.
Right. If I'm a baker early in my career or a coach just starting out, which are examples our research specifically brings up, why shouldn't I wait until my skills are actually polished before putting myself out there? Doesn't a broken strategy just mean you should stop and fix it?
What's fascinating here is how Gordon completely flips that assumption.
How so?
Well, in this context, broken does not mean fatally flawed, and it certainly doesn't mean stop. Broken simply means it's the beginning of an iterative process.
Okay, an iterative process.
Right. The secret to developing anything successful isn't waiting in isolation for a flawless innovation to burst from your forehead. It's having the courage to stick with something that barely works and actively nurturing it in the real world.
So you have to put it out there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You share it, you gather feedback, you improve it. Your goal at the beginning isn't mass market perfection. Your goal is simply gaining traction with a few people.
So the enemy of starting isn't failure, it's the demand for immediate perfection.
Precisely. Because demanding perfection from a prototype is a guaranteed recipe for psychological burnout.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Godin points out that people who are actively gaining traction rarely burn out. Burnout happens when your goals are completely divorced from your strategy.
Like when you expect the finished product on day one.
Yeah, you sit around hoping for a perfect future, refusing to engage with the messy present, and just waiting for the world to deliver success to you.
Which never happens.
Never. That cognitive dissonance, the sheer exhaustion of trying to live in your flawed current reality while demanding the perfect future right now, that is what actually fries your nervous system.
So what's the alternative?
Godin says an effective strategy acts as a tailwind. It bridges today and tomorrow, transforming a barely functional project into something essential.
That reframing changes everything. It reminds me of how the legendary surfer and board shaper Mickey Munoz is quoted in these notes.
Oh, I love his perspective.
It's so good. He says we have to keep chasing perfection, even though we are fully aware we can never actually catch it.
Right, because it's impossible.
Yeah, the arrival isn't the point. The pursuit itself is what keeps us young and engaged in the game.
And Aristotle was observing the exact same mechanism over 2,000 years ago.
Really? How did he phrase it?
He said, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, therefore, is not an act, but a habit."
Wow, yeah.
And the great basketball coach John Wooden echoed it too. He always said success is the journey, not the destination.
It's a chorus of voices across completely different disciplines, all pointing to the same truth.
Exactly.
The imperfect, messy beginning isn't a frustrating hurdle you have to clear before the real work begins.
No, it's not.
The imperfect beginning is the real work.
It absolutely is.
So if a goal is traction and we accept that the beginning is going to be messy, that means we're going to stumble.
Oh, inevitable.
You're going to build a lot of shaky vine bridges along the way. But the problem with stumbling is that it leaves a mark.
It does.
Every mistake we make gets recorded. And that brings up the scariest part of this entire BCD framework. Like, how do we handle the permanent record of our failures?
That's the heavy question.
To answer that, the text brings up one of the most agonizing stories in sports history.
The 1968 Masters Tournament.
Yes. Picture this. It's the final Sunday. The legendary golfer Roberto De Vicenzo is playing the round of his absolute life.
The pressure must have been insane.
Right. He shoots a brilliant 65. The gallery is going wild. But at the end of the round, when he goes to sign his official scorecard, he is so caught up in the moment that he doesn't realize his playing partner had made a clerical error.
Aaron.
Yeah, Tommy Aaron. He incorrectly wrote down a 4 on the 17th hole instead of the 3 that De Vicenzo had actually shot.
Oh, no.
And De Vicenzo signs the card without double-checking the math.
That's so painful.
It gets worse. According to the ironclad Rule 38-3 in golf, if you sign for a score higher than your actual score, the higher score stands.
Wow.
Because of a simple clerical error that he signed off on, De Vicenzo loses the entire Masters tournament by a single stroke, a stroke he didn't even take.
It is just a devastating pill to swallow. I mean, the physical reality of what he achieved was literally overwritten by the record he signed.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Look at how De Vicenzo actually reacts.
How did he?
He doesn't throw a tantrum. He doesn't scream at Tommy Aaron or demand an exception. He simply looks at the situation and says, "What a stupid I am to be wrong in this wonderful tournament."
That is incredible composure.
I read that and couldn't believe it. Let's be real. In today's culture, if someone loses out on a massive career milestone because of a technicality involving a colleague, they don't respond with grace.
No, they launch a PR campaign.
Exactly. They sue the organization. But De Vicenzo just absorbs total ownership of the record he signed.
He held the scorecard, so he owned the outcome. And the author, Oz Hillman, uses that exact story as a powerful metaphor for what he calls God's scorecard.
God's scorecard. Okay.
Yeah, he links it to Revelation 20.1, which contains this grand ancient image of human lives being judged by what is recorded in the books.
Right, the cosmic ledger.
Exactly. Now, whether you view that concept through a strict theological lens or a purely secular one, the underlying psychological mechanism is identical. Our lives are a cumulative record of our choices.
Yeah, it all adds up.
It does. And what makes De Vicenzo's reaction so remarkable is his quiet, unshakable acceptance of his own record. Contrast that quiet acceptance with what the author Robert Greene calls the conviction bias.
The conviction bias.
Good.
This is the shadow side of the scorecard, right? The mechanics of a cover-up.
Exactly. Greene breaks down the psychology of deception. When people forge their scorecard, when they're actively trying to cover up a mistake, a shortcut, or a lie, their internal cognitive dissonance spikes wildly.
Because they know they're faking it.
Right. They feel a massive internal tension because reality doesn't match the story they're telling. So to relieve that internal pressure, their brains force them to overcompensate externally.
Oh, interesting.
They don't act gracefully like David Genzo. They get extremely vehement, they get theatrical, they become incredibly chatty and performative about their innocence.
They basically shout to drown out their own internal alarm bells.
That's the exact mechanism. They deny the reality with so much animated energy that the rest of us often mistake their performance for actual conviction.
That is so true.
Green warns that we need to raise our antenna precisely when someone's denial seems a little too intense.
Right.
The golfer who signed the wrong card spoke quietly and accepted the consequences. The deceiver shouts, points fingers, and accepts nothing.
That performative innocence is everywhere once you know to look for it.
Oh, absolutely everywhere.
But the only antidote is owning your choices, which Paulo Coelho maps out in this brilliant cascading chain.
I love this quote.
He says, "Watch your thoughts, for they become your words. Watch your words, they become actions. Actions become habits, habits become character, and character becomes your destiny."
It's a real-time recording process.
It is. And Seth Godin brings this right back into the professional world. He argues that if you truly want to innovate, you have to be willing to admit your mistakes openly.
Oh, you can't hide them.
No, you cannot let early success corrupt your practice into defensive posturing. You are either signing your scorecard honestly or you are forging it.
And we have to recognize that this continuous scorecard isn't just an abstract metaphor kept in a philosophical ledger somewhere.
Where is it then?
It is quite literally physically recorded in the tissues and nervous system of our bodies.
Which brings us right back to Joseph Pilates and that 60-year-old who moves like water.
Yes, exactly.
The sources keep returning to the physical body for a reason. Modern knowledge workers often treat the body like it's just this disposable meat vehicle.
Sad but true.
Like its only job is to carry our big, important brains from one Zoom meeting to the next. But the research argues the exact opposite. The body is the foundational hardware for mental clarity and emotional resilience.
This is where the philosophy of former Navy SEAL Jocko Willink becomes so relevant.
Oh, Jocko, yes.
Willink advocates for a complete inversion of how we typically process motivation. His rule is, it is easier to act your way into a better way of thinking than to think your way into a better way of acting.
I want to break down the actual biology of that because it goes against every self-help book on the market.
It really does.
We usually think we need to wait until the fog lifts before we start moving. We wait to feel motivated before we act.
Right.
But Willink is saying we have the causality totally backwards.
We do have it backwards. The action must precede the feeling.
Okay, how does that work?
Well, if you're struggling mentally, trapped in a loop of anxiety or lethargy, his advice is to immediately force the body into physical exertion.
Just move?
Yes. When you move, you forcefully shift your nervous system state. You alter your heart rate. You spike your dopamine and endorphins, and you physically break the paralysis of overanalysis.
Wow.
The physiology drives the psychology.
It's almost like the body is the hardware and the mind is the operating system.
That's a great way to put it.
We spend all this time trying to download new mindfulness apps. We read philosophy, we try to think positive thoughts, but we're essentially trying to run next-gen software on a laptop with a cracked motherboard and a fried battery.
Yes. You have to fix the hardware first.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Is this just a long-winded endorsement of vanity and expensive gym memberships?
Not at all.
Yep.
And the sources prove that by bringing in Georges Hébert.
Who was he?
He was a French naval officer who created a foundational system of physical education known as the méthode naturelle. And he distilled his entire philosophy of human fitness down to 4 words.
Which are?
Be strong to be helpful.
Be strong to be helpful. That completely strips the vanity out of it.
It entirely reorients the purpose of health. In Hébert's framework, physical strength isn't about looking good in a mirror.
Right.
It is about your literal capacity to be of service to the world. It's having the lung capacity to carry someone out of a burning building, or the endurance to weather a grueling physical hardship so that someone weaker doesn't have to endure it alone.
Wow, so you are maintaining your bodily hardware as a platform for service.
Exactly.
And it serves as a platform for the mind, too. Dr. Bob Rotella, the famous sports psychologist, points this out in his work with elite golfers.
What does he tell them?
He tells them, this game is designed to beat us up. Make sure we're not beating ourselves up as well.
That's so profound.
Yeah, the inner game and the outer game aren't separate. They are the exact same game. If you let your hardware degrade, your software is going to crash right along with it.
The physical and the mental are locked in a constant, inescapable feedback loop.
So assuming you fix the hardware, you get your body strong so it can be helpful, what exactly are you deploying that strength for?
That's the next step.
According to these notes, you are building that foundation so you can face the things that terrify you.
Right. The acronym that is woven through this section of the text is FEAR.
Which stands for
Face everything and rise.
face everything and rise.
Yeah. And on the surface, it sounds like a bit of a motivational cliche, but the underlying psychological truth it points to is absolute.
How so?
The most meaningful, transformative things in your life are almost always located on the exact opposite side of whatever is currently frightening you.
I want to dig into the mechanics of how we actually face that fear, because the author Ryan Holiday uses the ancient Stoics to deliver a pretty scathing critique of how we handle fear today.
We don't handle it well.
No, we don't. We live in this era of relentless digital curation. We substitute the aesthetic of courage for actual courage.
Also completely.
We pin inspirational quotes to our vision boards, we repost motivational videos, and we basically just stand around admiring other people's trophies.
Just curating bravery.
Exactly. But Holiday points to the Greek statesman Demosthenes and the philosopher Seneca, who state clearly that admiring the trophies is entirely insufficient. We have to enter the arena and produce our own bold acts.
This raises an important question, though. Where does the internal fortitude for a genuinely bold act actually come from?
Right, if not from the vision board.
Yeah, if it doesn't come from vision boards, where does it originate? The text points us toward Marcus Aurelius for the answer.
The Roman emperor.
Yes. Think about his context for a second. He is arguably the most remarkable human being to ever hold political power. He wielded absolute, unquestioned, life and death authority over the entire Roman Empire.
He could do literally anything he wanted.
Anything.
Yeah.
Yet, he utilized that immense power to try and become a more virtuous person, rather than just a more dominant tyrant.
Which is rare.
Extremely rare. His biographer, Donald Robertson, traces the origin of that extraordinary restraint back to Marcus's mother, Domitia Lucilla.
Not a legendary military general, not a savvy political operator. His mother.
Yes.
Yeah.
She taught him the foundational mechanism of courage when he was just a child. She taught him that you must aggressively work on your internal character, not just your external performative behavior.
Wow.
And she didn't just lecture him about this. She provided a living, breathing model of what an examined life looked like.
Right.
That deep internal foundation of character is the only place the courage to face fear can organically originate.
And facing fear isn't just about fighting literal battles or running an empire. It takes so many different shapes. Oh, sure.
Like the actor Ed Helms is quoted in the text explaining that the act of making art is really nothing more than the courage to take your weird internal ideas and make them weirdly digestible to the world.
I love that phrase. Weirdly digestible.
Isn't it great? It is a terrifying vulnerability to put something true and strange out there for public judgment.
It really is.
And the sports writer Wright Thompson frames the stark, inescapable cost of all of this. He reminds us that whatever you are choosing to do today is incredibly heavy because you are literally exchanging a day of your finite life for it.
Yeah.
Every single day is a permanent exchange.
Exchanging a day of your life is an immense burden to carry.
It's heavy.
It is. And if your ability to face that reality relies entirely on raw, white-knuckled grit, that courage will eventually sour into cynicism or pure exhaustion.
You just burn out.
Exactly. You need a sustainable fuel source. Which leads us to the final and undoubtedly the most vital thread in this entire collection of sources.
Yeah, this is the anchor that holds the whole BCD framework together.
The text brings up an ancient teaching from the Buddhist Dhammapada. It says, "Hatred never ceases by hatred, but by love alone is healed."
It's beautiful.
It is. And what really caught my attention reading this is that the text doesn't frame this as a soft greeting card sentiment.
Right.
It describes this dynamic as an ancient and eternal law. It talks about love the same way a physicist talks about the laws of thermodynamics.
Like it's a structural rule of the universe.
Exactly. It's not an emotional preference. It's the fundamental physics of the human soul.
Seneca makes what is probably the most radical, empowering claim in the entire collection regarding this law of love.
What does he say?
Ryan Holiday highlights how Seneca argues that while we have zero control over our biological parents, we can't choose where we start, we can consciously choose our spiritual parents.
Yes, we can choose them.
Yes, we can deliberately adopt mentors, historical models, and teachers. Marcus Aurelius actively chose the Stoics as his intellectual parents. He actively chose to internalize his mother's character, specifically her profound inability to even conceive of doing wrong. We possess the remarkable ability to inherit the best qualities of other human beings entirely on purpose.
It's not just a poetic metaphor, it's a tactical, active choice you make about who you let into your head.
Exactly.
And Os Hillman connects this mechanism right back to Proverbs 3.5 to 6 in the Bible. He points out that the text isn't designed to be a sterile ledger of rights and wrongs. It operates as a relationship guide.
A relationship guide.
Yeah, it's a map demonstrating exactly what happens when human beings orient their nervous systems and their choices toward love rather than fear.
And the natural byproduct of a life oriented toward love is that your daily scorecard takes care of itself.
Right.
You don't have to forge anything.
There's a quiet aphorism buried deep in the notes that captures the daily practice of this perfectly. It says, if you focus on what you have, you gain what you lack. If you focus on what you lack, you lose what you have.
That's incredibly powerful.
Gratitude isn't just a feeling. It is the practical, daily discipline of love. Resentment is simply the absence of it.
It's the law of attention. What we attend to compounds and grows.
Yeah.
If you chronically attend to the lack in your life, the resentment metastasizes. If you rigorously attend to the gratitude, the love expands.
As we start to pull all these threads together to wrap up this deep dive, I want to quote Leo Tolstoy, who wrote in War and Peace, "The two most powerful warriors are patience and time."
Patience and time.
Everything we've unpacked today requires those two warriors. Having the patience to take your broken, shaky vine bridges and nurture them to real traction.
Right.
Having the courage to sign your daily scorecard with total honesty, completely abandoning the theatrical conviction bias.
Doing the grueling work.
Yeah, doing the grueling work of building your physical body so you have the hardware required to be helpful to others. Facing your deepest fear so you can produce your own bold acts instead of just curating other people's quotes. And grounding every single bit of that effort in the eternal law of love. None of that is achieved in a single afternoon. It compounds over a lifetime.
The Aikido master and writer George Leonard observed that everything we learn in the microcosm of sports eventually leads to insights about life itself.
How so?
Well, the game is just a highly compressed version of the larger lifelong contest between who we currently are and who we have the potential to become.
I love that.
And I think Mickey Munoz, the surfer, grounded this entire philosophy perfectly. He pointed out that the goal isn't to be stoked 24 hours a day.
Because that's impossible.
It is a toxic, impossible standard. The actual goal is just to be stoked most of the time.
Yeah.
Your physical health and the people who love you are the only things that actually matter. Everything else is just noise and BS.
It really is. The rest is just distraction.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over as you go about your day.
Go for it.
We explored Paulo Coelho's mechanical chain of how your daily thoughts eventually harden into your destiny. And we discussed Senka's radical proposition that you can consciously choose your spiritual parents.
Right.
So I want you to ask yourself, who are you choosing as your spiritual parents today? Whose thoughts, whose podcasts, whose voices are you allowing into your mind to shape your BCD, that messy, beautiful middle of your life?
That's such a great question.
Are you passively letting in thoughts of fear, thoughts that make you want to forge your scorecard and perform your innocence for the crowd? Or are you actively, deliberately choosing to adopt thoughts of courage and love?
That is the ultimate question of the examined life. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the source material.
It's been great.
Before the inevitable noise of the day fully takes over, we encourage you to take one small, imperfect action today. Build one shaky vine bridge. Remember that 30-year-old and that 60-year-old we talked about at the very beginning of this conversation? The difference between stiffness and strength, between resentment and grace, isn't just the passage of time. It's the invisible choice you're about to make right now. We'll see you next time.